Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. You know, I heard the story. A lady named Lindsay, who was 32 at the time she told the story, was married to a man named Derek, and her sister's name is Danny. Yeah, apparently there's some ladies named Danny. I think they spell it differently, though. She said in a conversation in her kitchen with her sister that if she could go back in time, she probably wouldn't pick Derek again. Derek was in the next room on his phone, and he must have heard it because he just got up, walked out the house, and she didn't see him for several days. He didn't answer phone calls or texts for about 2 or 3 days. And she did find out that he was in a hotel, but the hotel would not put her in touch with him if she called. And she stated that throughout this whole ordeal, her conscience bothered her because she's the one that said stuff, and that even when her sister pointed that out, that, you did say that to me with him right there in the next room. Of course, you might not hear from him. That she wanted to hang up on her sister. When I have to deal with accountability for what I've done wrong, I'm pretty good at refusing to take it if I can see that it's for something over which I did not have control. And as a black man, I am expected to take it. And as a black man on either extreme end of the complexion spectrum, I'm expected to take accountability readily, even when I didn't have control over something. That is true. Because as we know, brothers on either end can really be blamed a lot for stuff. They don't have to have control. They can just be blamed. They just, you did this, you did that. No, I didn't. Yeah, you did. Come take this blame. Come take this accountability. But I didn't do it. Take it anyway. Now, we know that Western men in general are expected to take this from Western women, even independently of race, let alone complexion. So even white males are expected to take accountability from white women over things that previous generations of white men may or may not have done. But Lindsay sat up and said, as she told the story, how several times her conscience would begin to remind her it was her, and she would just try to shut that part down. She wasn't going to listen. She wasn't going to accept what she had done. She wasn't going to fuck the shuck up. She wasn't going to say, well, you know what? I did this. That was me. Absolutely not. She was instead going to keep on trying to put it on others and say that Derek overreacted to what she told Danny. Whether she was telling Danny this or telling Derek this. She said that one day he did, and 2 or 3 days later he walked in. He said, we got to talk. And she said, you don't say, and folded her arms across her chest with an attitude like she hadn't fucked up. And that was when he told her that he was no longer putting her in front of himself, and that he no longer cared to try to please her because he had done this before and he never felt appreciated, and he wasn't going to try anymore. She said, are you giving up on us because of one thing I said to my sister? And he told her, this is not about that one thing. It's about the culmination. It's about how you've been talking like this for a long time. So yeah, I'm packing my shit and moving. I'm getting out. And he packed and he moved on. And when he came back to get more of his stuff later, she tried to talk and he said, no, there's not us to talk about anymore. And she even said that one of the things that really made her feel small was the fact that he never got mean or raised his voice. He was never cruel, impolite, nothing like that. He just was polite and he departed. clearly stated his reasons, and he parted ways. And she said that about a month later, she saw him in a coffee shop by chance nearby. He was talking to some young lady that was naturally cute. He saw her. He gave a polite nod, kept talking to the lady, and they were laughing. He had clearly moved on. And she wanted to go up to the lady and say, "What are you doing with who is still my husband?" But she realized that he would have made her feel even smaller. And so she decided not to, and she's had to accept that she's now by herself, and she hates that feeling of being alone, and she's trying to go out with her friends now to stay distracted. The funny thing is, when the friends do find someone, if they learn from her mistake, they'll find someone, and they'll keep a hold of that man, and they'll have less and less time for her, like Tamara Mowry has for Tia. Whichever one is married has for the one that decided to leave Corey Hardrick. I get the names mixed up. And even that twin sat up and said that she tends to push away people to hold her accountable. These ladies are sitting up and telling us on themselves. Mary Jane Bynum sat up and said this. She wanted black men to come and crash out in Italy because an Italian woman slapped her to the couch because she kept on breaking the hotel's rules. Here's the funny thing. She even said, "I have this thing where if you tell me I can't do something, I just have to do it." She sits up and lets that slip. If you see the video, she sat up and let that slip. And AC Accountable Commentary talked about her recently, because I don't know what she's doing, but apparently she still hasn't been shut down and she hasn't completely run out of funding. She needs to be right back in the States trying to survive in that damn job market. She needs to be right there facing that choice. Be poor for not doing OnlyFans, or maybe still be poor for doing OnlyFans, but never be able to work another job in her life. She needs to have to sit up and face that. See, the thing I love about the economy in the States right now is the same reason I wouldn't go back to it. It was like that for black men, heterosexual black men, and then you add Muslim on top of that. Oh God. And my wife at the time didn't believe it. She was like, "Well, I got this Muslim Swahili name and I wear hijab. I can get a job. You got a white man's name. You look like you do. You don't have to wear hijab. They don't know you're Muslim. They don't have to know you're black. How come you ain't getting jobs like mine?" And when I finally did get one, I lost it 14 months later because they laid off everyone they thought might have voted for Obama. And when I told her that we got laid off, she even said, "Well, it wasn't that you deserved the job. You just got lucky." Sorry, what? Oh, that's how you hold your husband up? When he did do work to deserve jobs like this? When they hired me because with a background in education, I might be able to train new recruits later because they were planning on a business expansion. That's how you talk to your husband? Okay, all right. That was her. It didn't matter what I had. I was always in trouble for what I didn't have. I learned that lesson, harsh lesson, for over a decade. What I did wrong in that marriage, I paid for early on, and I didn't do anymore. We are not the same. One of the things you are always going to face with the Westonisha is a sense of non-accountability. But not only that, it's funny because they have a socialization to do things that are immoral and then still dodge the accountability for them. Keep this in mind. They are socialized to be ditzy and stupid, especially when it comes to you. Smart as long as it's to your disadvantage or to your inconvenience, but also ditzy as long as it's to your inconvenience and to your disadvantage. Whichever one gets you in trouble keeps you busy digging them out of shit. Like Lois Lane. Be smart when it gets you in the most shit. Be stupid when it's time to need a rescue. Don't be smart enough to not get into stuff, but be smart enough to get Superman into shit. But you ain't Superman, and neither am I. Bullets don't bounce off us. They ain't supposed to. And this is really what is going to bother a lot of them about this. about what I'm telling you. You have to stop validating Westernicians at all, whether it's even if it's liking a photo, unless you're friend zoning them and you're liking something that does not get them the kind of attention that might translate into being provided later. Now, that's okay. That's fine. That's a good thing. But any type of validation that could come along with a sexual or financial reward with it, you must withhold. It's just like that. You need to do that because, frankly, you can't. You can't afford really to be around them if they think that you think that cheaply of yourself. Assalamu alaikum. You have to be as psychologically and as sexually difficult and financially difficult as they are psychologically and sexually. And as financially difficult as they would be if you look to them for any financial support. You got to be the same way. And it's something that you have to do as a group. So the one thing I'm going to tell you is that we do have to start ding-a-ling policing, but not in a way that they want. We have to start ding-a-ling policing in a way they don't want. So we have to penally police the same way that they punani police. You know how they have those whom they call pick-me's. And they'll sit up and say, well, y'all call some men simps. We need to start calling men simps for far less. Not because you're nice to a nice woman, but for being nice to one that ain't even paying you no attention, ain't even thinking about you. You just attention for her, your validation for her, your proof to her that she's a baddie, but she's of no proof to you that you're desirable. No, you got to start policing other guys like that. You catch your homie liking some Instagram model's pic, you get on there and say, hey, man, what you doing, bro? Call him on it. He still stays on that mess. You got to say, you know what, man? You can't make money with us no more. He got to lose something. It's just like what the Geek Underground 3 talked about on his last upload. Shout out to him. Where you got this male tampon talking about, you got a generation of dudes that are problematic because they think they're the prize. I dare you to look at your daughters and tell them that they not the prize. I'm a father of 2 daughters. And my message to them is that they get to choose whether or not they're going to be a prize, but they don't start off like that automatically. And my other message to them is, if you act like these other women, even if you're living in the West, you act like these other women in the West, you will not be a prize. You will be a punishment. You will still demand that a man be a prize, but you'll be a punishment for a man that's a prize. My other message to them, and this is as a father who loves them, is, you know what? Khadijah went and got her man who was 3 years younger than her. Some say 15, but there are other sources that say 3. Made less money than her. Worked for her. She went and got him. If you are surrounded by Westernicians that got nothing but attitude and entitlements and demands to bring to men, you will have to distinguish yourself from them. You may have to go and get that man that's a prize. You might have to do that. That's how it shakes out. We like women early on in life. Women like us early on in life, but not many of us. But women wind up needing men later on. And the men that they need are the ones that are going to show the least interest. That's how that shakes out. And actually, it has to be that way because the West is so harsh to men when they're young. So unfortunately, it has to be the way that it winds up being in old age. It's got to balance out that way. The other way is that you can go to more traditional model, but that's going to involve that just like men got to take accountability, these women will have to take accountability as well. It's going to demand that. You're going to have to take accountability at some point, ladies. You're going to have to look at yourself and you're going to have to say, you know what? I'm going to have to accept accountability as well. I'm going to have to realize that what I did, the decision I made, the choice I made, the way I snapped at him and he didn't do anything, all this dumb, ditzy, stereotypical blonde shit that I did has a consequence, and I earned it if I chose to do these dumb things. Especially if I was insistent upon being Miss Independent, strong, intellectual, intelligent, with some difficult major just to throw it in a man's face to tell him I don't need it, to tell him I don't need him, and then turn around and be ditzy when we're together because I want him to do all the intellectual heavy lifting. Especially if on top of all of that, I only grab a map and help him read a map during a road trip just to tell him he's wrong. Otherwise, I ain't going to look at the map. And that's exactly how it is that the West socializes Westernicians to behave towards men. Oh, be smart, but make sure that that's inconvenient for him, and then be intelligent. Make sure that that's inconvenient for him. Then turn around and be ditzy when that's inconvenient for him. Never allow your intellect to benefit that man, and don't allow your resources to benefit that man. So I say, when you will not bring an intellect and you will not bring any resources to the table, what good are you? You let your society, your culture that you think is so advanced, convince you to be worthless to men. And then you complain because Derek got up and walked out and didn't say anything. You got so careless. See, Lindsay's story is one of dits. It's one of exactly that, utilizing her intellect to try to make him feel less than and to always demand more, but then being ditzy enough to say dumb shit like that in front of him. Being a damn goofball. Can't take accountability. There was a show where a white couple was on there, and the wife was they were talking about the wife spending, and they said something. The host said something about, what if you and him sat down and did a budget? And she said, I'd probably kick him out if he won an argument about money. If he won an argument, she'd kick him out? Damn, bitch. She felt comfortable saying that ditzy bullshit. And you got videos now where sometimes men say, finally winning an argument with my wife. And then they show, one video showed the man sleeping. And then as the camera pans out, you realize he's sleeping on a couch. He's not sleeping in his bed. Did that bitch buy the bed? In order to kick you out, did she buy the bed? You don't let, you can sleep away from your wife because she's full of that bullshit. But if she didn't buy the bed and she wouldn't buy it, she don't kick you out. She don't want to sleep next to you. Her ass can sleep somewhere else, not you. I say this as a man that loves his wife, but also as a man that understands exactly what many brothers have been saying for generations and certainly decades, and now has to be put in practice. If you win an argument and she can't stand it, your ass married a child. And that's why I tell you, don't marry in the West. Don't date in the West, because they're trained to be that way. So you get with them, and then you could be married, and then you win an argument because you were right, she was wrong, and she's mad, and she can't just fuck the shuck up and say, damn, I screwed up. She can't do it. So now she, like a child, tells you to go and sleep over there somewhere. Wait, you got to pay for the bed. You have to pay the money, because she ain't going to do it. But she's telling you to go sleep somewhere else, and she's crying because you won an argument. Get the F out of here. We're trained this way. Female unaccountability is baked into the cake of Western culture, and that's why I tell you all, don't like their pictures, don't approach them. Don't even look extra long at them. You see them? Okay, yeah, they're going to try to make themselves look good. You'll see it, but don't stare. Leave them be because they cannot appreciate what you are bringing to the table. You're not capable of that. They hate you too much. They already believe that you're too inferior. And since they believe that you're too inferior, okay, you don't do anything for them. Because what would they bother doing for you? They wouldn't. They'll fight you tooth and nail because that's who the huck they are. And you sitting up here trying to win them over. I don't know why you think that way. Because in all honesty, Lindsay's story is very typical. There's not even anything atypical about it. When I listened to this story, I don't know who narrated it, but when I listened, I think it was AI narrated, but when I listened to Lindsay's story, she sounded typical. Full of dits when you needed to use her mind, but ready to use her mind as long as it's against you. Their very intellect is weaponized against you. I hope that what I've said is a benefit. Thank you for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual, non-select male power, because they don't like it in a black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Airways, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.